Greetings, everybody. Welcome to the February 24th, 2016 edition of the Midweek Update here on Rasslin with Redbeard. People say that wrestlers like Joey Ryan are killing the business. You know what's actually killing the business? Byron Saxton being caught on video handing Roman Reigns a blood capsule. Yeah. Number 5 story of the week is Lucha Underground in financial trouble? This is a story that kind of rose up out of some tweets that came from some people at the Wrestling Observer and some comments that were made on that program, basically saying that Lucha Underground has lost as much money in 2 seasons as TNA has lost in 10 years. Pretty big words there, and that's a whole lot of money to be considered when you look into the fact that TNA has had all the talent that they've had in the past decade, and all that's pretty well gone sour on. Lucha Underground obviously is a TV show. It is a show that does have a lot of talent involved with it, but it is not like a normal wrestling promotion. This is not like a WCW or a Global Force or whatnot. And that was indicated by one of their producers who shot back on Twitter to basically refute the claims that were levied by the Wrestling Observer folks. He more or less said, the producer did, that we have a budget, we stick to that budget, and that's the end of the story. And I agree with that, because the fact that this is, like I mentioned a moment ago, not a typical wrestling promotion. This is a TV show. It's made up of talent that are part of other groups, obviously, that are contractually able to come and participate in a show like Lucha Underground. So to put that out there, that these guys are in some type of financial trouble, I think was kind of a clickbait sort of story, where you got people who are obviously into Lucha Underground. The ratings for this season have been through the roof. They've been improving week to week. It's one of those things where you almost always anticipate someone being there to pull you down, even though you're having some level of success. And that's what this sounded like more than anything to me. But definitely looks as though that Lucha Underground is on good footing. They have plans for season 3 and a lot of content left to come even in this season here. So a lot of stuff to look forward to in the world of Lucha Underground. Number 4 story of the week is that Brie, Bella, and Wade Barrett will be leaving WWE soon. It's believed that Barrett is more or less just deciding to explore other avenues in his career. He could pursue acting. He's been in a number of movies and productions, so that's definitely an avenue for him. Brie Bella more than likely is going to be retiring following suit of her husband Daniel Bryan, so they can go ahead and just have that nice ride off into the sunset type of moment together. And that's perfectly fine and very agreeable for the both of them. They both have nice, long, enjoyable lives post-WWE and post-wrestling. It would be nice to know what the reasoning is for Barrett's decision to leave at this point in time, because he's one of these guys that I can think of, or one of the few guys I can think of on WWE's roster who's had as many stops and starts as him, and not really having a career that amounts to a whole lot. I'm going to go ahead and say that just because of the fact that when you look at the body of his work, he's turned in a lot of great matches, phenomenal talent when it comes to his mic work and being able to deliver fantastic promos. I'm a big fan of the Bad News Barrett character. But just in terms of having gotten going in one way, having an injury, having something else come up that kind of derails his momentum, he's had a lot of it. You know, he's gone through the Nexus, he's gone through the Core, he's gone through Bad News Barrett, he's went through King Barrett, all these different things that he's done throughout the course of his life, or throughout the course of his career, I should say. And he's kind of now at a point where people acknowledge him for being talented, but he's never really had that true moment where he was able to, shine above everything else. And the League of Nations definitely wasn't going to be that either, because he was somewhat thrown into that as a mechanism for him to have something to do, as were several of these guys whenever it came around. But I definitely would like to see him come back at some point in time if he ever wants to pursue wrestling again. He's the type that, could go away for a couple of years and potentially go somewhere else like, New Japan, Ring of Honor, or wherever else, and have some success there, and then, come back to WWE later on in life. So we'll have to see what happens for the two of them, but definitely wish them well in whatever they have next. Number 3 story of the week is that WWE has officially announced the Global Cruiserweight Series. This is an exciting thing here, folks, because this is a big shift in the overall methodology of how WWE does business in a lot of respects, because this is a scenario to where they have already pretty much given us an idea that they're going to be including talent from all over the world, potentially talent that are brand new to WWE, You're going to likely see guys from the independent scene, guys from Evolve, all over the world. There are going to be talents that are brought in for this series that they're going to be running this summer, and it's going to be a network special. So if you're not already a network subscriber, you definitely want to get involved because of stuff like this, and because of NXT, and because of the pay-per-views, of course. It's a great time to be watching the network because they've got a lot of good stuff going on there, period. But to get back to the topic at hand, this is a series that is going to revive the idea of a cruiser or junior division in WWE. It's, again, something that seems to be spearheaded by Triple H and his real desire to continue to grow the wrestling product in WWE, which is a phenomenal thing in my opinion, because it's an acknowledgement that, hey, not everybody who's a wrestler has to be 6'7" and 300 pounds and look like, a Braun Strowman or whoever. That there are people of all shapes and sizes who can be wrestlers and be very good at it. So it's great to have that type of acknowledgement from someone like him, who is clearly concerned with the future of the product and wants to be as involved and engaged as possible with the wrestling culture that exists in the world right now. So it's great to have him working with a project like this. Not a whole lot of details in the actual structure of what this is going to be. They've announced it as a series, so you would expect it to be some type of a tournament layout. But here again, the people in WWE say wins and losses don't matter. Well, in this scenario, it would seem to. So, we'll look for some official announcements in terms of the talent that will be included here shortly, and also an idea of where these matches are going to be taped and how they're going to be handled. Definitely been looking forward to seeing some guys from the Mid-Atlantic hopefully involved in this in some way, shape, or form, because you've had people like Corey Hollis and John Schuyler who would be in that particular ballpark as far as the weight class is concerned, and a lot of other talent from this part of the world as well. So something to look forward to coming this summer from WWE Network and the Global Cruiserweight Series. Number 2 story of the week is our reaction to WWE Fastlane. I'll go ahead and say this right off the bat, I was not impressed. Mainly because of the fact that we had massive issues with the WWE Network performance. The show did not really work all that well for us up until around the end of the Intercontinental title match, and moving forward it seemed to be okay, but initially there the program was all but unwatchable. The situation we had was it would play for a couple of seconds, and then it would skip backwards, go forward beyond where it was previously, and then play for a little while and do the whole thing over again. And then at one point during the Intercontinental title match, it actually went back to the pre-show, and it was just kind of a mess, to be honest with you. It did eventually settle down. I had to reboot my player a couple times in order for it to do as we expected it to, but this is the first time we've ever had any issues watching something through the WWE Network. We typically watch at my home through a Sony Blu-ray player. It's been bulletproof for the most part since we've been using it for that purpose, but this was the first time we've had real issues with it. But be that as it may, I can't really comment on the matches that we did see in its entirety because I haven't really taken the time to go back and watch anything other than what we were able to watch post that particular scenario. It seemed for the most part like this was kind of what people expected in terms of them choosing the safest possible bets going forward with the match outcomes. The big match, of course, the main event was the triple threat for the number 1 contendership going to WrestleMania. You've kind of had some things evolve out of that to where you now have Roman Reigns, who's going to be challenging Triple H. Big yawn. Everybody expected that to happen. The more exciting thing to me is the idea of Dean Ambrose and Brock Lesnar having a feud. And of course, the other things that are going to evolve out of this and come out of Raw as well. The potential for AJ Styles having a feud post his encounter with Y2J. What they're going to be doing with the Divas division. Of course, you've got New Day that are still probably the most entertaining thing on any of the shows right now, with their whole shtick and the 3-man group that also happens to be the tag team champions. But it's just a good combination of things there. I think they'll be able to work with come WrestleMania, and a lot of other things that are happening in terms of the evolution of the scenarios that are going into that show there. But as far as Fastlane was concerned, it was filler to a point. Not a bad show, not a great show. It was just kind of there as an evolution or a stepping stone, you might want to say, to where they want to be with WrestleMania. And there was even more clarification in terms of where they're going to be going with WrestleMania, thanks to what happened with our number one story of the week, which is number one story of the week, of course, is the fact that everyone lost their minds watching Raw this past Monday. Can only say that there have been a very, very few occasions here recently where Raw has been a can't-miss, must-watch type of thing. And the return suddenly of Shane McMahon made for a big dose of that. the whole thing with him coming back, it's something that people have been looking forward to and kind of anticipating for a long time. And I guess the situation with WrestleMania is such that they just don't have a choice. They had to pull an ace out of their sleeve, and he wound up being it. Because for weeks people have been speculating who Undertaker's opponent might be. They thought it might be John Cena. They thought it might be someone else whenever the news broke that, oh well, it's going to be someone who's not an active wrestler on WWE's roster. And that's definitely a shame to a T, but it was still fun to hear the rumors because people were thinking Goldberg, of all people, might come back and have a match with Taker at WrestleMania. Not happening. Never in a million years. But the whole situation with Raw was really, really peculiar and also really, really interesting. Peculiar from the standpoint that you've suddenly got Shane coming in and being involved in this match to where he's likely going to be the face or the baby, whatever you want to call him. And you would assume Undertaker's going to be in the heel role, but why? Are we supposed to boo Undertaker at this point in time? What are we really going for here? And how is that going to evolve to where it makes logical sense? So here I go throwing logic into things again with wrestling, and that never works out well. But still, it'll be interesting to see where they go for the next couple of weeks in trying to establish one or the other in those two roles. A lot of people have been throwing around the idea that since this is going to be a Hell in a Cell match, that Shane might not even be involved in the match. He might just be there and introduce someone else who could fight for him. Is that Sting? Is that John Cena? Is that someone else who would make sense in the role of being, that kind of hero to Taker's villain? Or are we even going to have a scenario where who's to say that Taker doesn't turn sides and say, okay, well, I'm going to side with Shane, and then guess what? Vince, you've got to have somebody else come and fight for you in your corner. There's a lot of different ways they could approach this, and that's one of the cool things that they were able to pull off with him, with Shane coming back at the time that he did. It's going to create a lot of intrigue, a lot of what-if type scenarios that people will be forced to consider and to look into and really make the product interesting. And that was what the big concern was for a long time, that WrestleMania, because of all the injuries and everything else that's been going on, was just going to be this lame duck show this year. But I think they've gotten themselves into a point now where between this match, Dean Ambrose and Brock Lesnar, a couple others that are probably on the pipe there, are really going to make it a fun show to watch. So we're looking forward to WrestleMania now. Always look forward to WrestleMania though, because hey, it's WrestleMania. It is what it is in terms of that kind of attraction. So, but that's a couple weeks off. We've got a lot going on here locally though, with the events that are happening this weekend. There are, to our knowledge, about 13 shows happening this weekend. February has been a very, very busy month in terms of live events happening in and around the Carolinas. And that's a great thing because it shows that people are interested in wrestling and they want to see wrestling. Otherwise, they wouldn't be having this many shows. So let's go ahead and roll those posters for you, get you caught up on what's happening in this part of the world, then we'll be back to close out the show. there you have it, our rundown of the events that are happening in this part of the world. If you're a wrestler, a promoter, or someone who's involved with a wrestling promotion and you didn't see your flyer on that part of the show, because we didn't know about it. We do our best to peruse social media to keep abreast of what's happening in this part of the world, but we do miss things. That said, if you would be so kind as to send us your material, we'd be glad to put it on the show here for you. Also be glad to put it on the Facebook page for Rasslin with Redbeard as well there. We've got a nice little collection of posters and other information so that people can see what's happening in this part of the world. Before we go further, I want to do a quick thank you to the people with PWX Wrestling, especially Brian Kinabrowski and the folks behind the scenes there for allowing us to have a moment during their event this past weekend, Road to Rise of a Champion, so that we could give out the 2015 Carolinas Professional Wrestling Awards. Appreciate that, Brian there. And also want to add one more thing. There has been an announcement that the NXT shows that have been very talked about and very much rumored in the Carolinas are actually happening. That will be April 7th through the 9th. The 7th date is in Charlotte, the 8th date is in Columbia, and the 9th will be in Charleston. Those tickets will be available starting this Friday, February 26th on Ticketmaster. So you want to get those as quickly as possible because I have a feeling that they're going to be quite a hot ticket item. They're starting, I think, the ringside stuff is kind of steep, as you expect for a WWE show. Starting around $75 and going down from there, I think, is what I've seen, at least what it kind of looks like. So, even so, I'd probably be able to get a couple of tickets for those for ourselves and go check them out anyway. Definitely be great to see the NXT crowd here in the Carolinas. That's it. We appreciate you guys tuning in and for hanging out with us. If you enjoy the program, go ahead and click that like button. If you really enjoy what we've got on the channel here, go ahead and click subscribe. That way you'll be the first to know whenever we've uploaded new content, like a midweek update, match videos, or even a Rasslin with Redbeard main show. Appreciate you guys tuning in. We'll see you next week.